So I decided I am going to rebuild this engine after all. I did want to look for a used engine or get a Jaguar XE to take one out of, but there's nothing really happening there. There's too much money, so I've committed. I've bought all the parts I need. Got a used crank that's been polished, and I'll measure that and make sure it's all good. I also got some used con rods. I think I probably only need one con rod, but a couple of mine are gone blue where they've seen too much heat. So again, I'll measure them up, but I'd go with replacement ones. I'd rather use genuine than the cheap aftermarket ones. One cheap aftermarket thing I've got to go with is oversized pistons, because Land Rover or Jaguar don't make oversized pistons for these engines. So these are aftermarket only. So come with all the rings. Same as what was in it before, when all the coating rubbed off. I mean, the coatings don't look brilliant. Probably turn out it's a bit of Sharpie. Got genuine head bolts there. I bought a second-hand oil cooler. The oil cooler's fed before the oil filter, so any debris picked up from the oil pump is likely to be in the filter. You can't, in the heat exchanger, and you can't clean them out. They're sealed. But this one came off an engine, or off a car that caught fire, so not an engine failure. I mean, they're 180 quid from JLR. I paid 20 quid for that, so it's one of them. I'm going to try and save a few quid where I can. Like, that crank cost me 600 quid. Rods were 200 quid. Pistons 240 quid. One thing I've done is I've got a used cylinder head. That's my original cams. I bought this cylinder head used. It's off a Discovery Sport. The company that's breaking it said the car had done 20,000 miles. So I'll have a good look at it and check it out, but that's just the simplest way to avoid all the issues with mine, where the valve springs look like they've been touching the cylinder head, and then the rockers looking worn, stuff like that. So just get another cylinder head, replace the lot. It was 180 quid, so that was pretty cheap. I mean, anything top end seems cheap, anything bottom end is crazy. So plan is rebuild this now. So I'm just cleaning up parts best I can using an airline and brake and clutch cleaner, and then just cloths to just get it looking decent, get any bits of shit out of it. I need to get these balance shafts out to make sure I can clean the block properly. You can see there's metal debris in there, so I'm gonna do a proper job of cleaning this. The previous owner siliconed on the oil squirter jets. It's a bit of a stupid idea. So I tried getting these gears off. I tried putting some wood in between the block and that and hammering them through, but it didn't work. So I've had to buy the proper tool, which is this kit here. I need this tool anyway, because I've worked out you can't align the crank up with these balance shafts without that proper tool. So if it's worth doing, it's worth doing it right. So I got the balance shaft out on the one side. It took a level whack with a hammer to separate it. And then this side has not gone very well. See, it's pushed in. It's smashed up the little housing. So it's got a housing like that around here. I've just mashed it up, hammering it to try and separate that gear. I watched a video of somebody else doing it, and they basically just tightened it up and it popped apart. So typical that my one is not playing ball. So I spent a bit of time trying to separate this gear off the balance shaft so I can remove the shaft. It's not gone very well. I've broken the end off my tool, which cost me 225 quid. So that's not great. So the end of that is stuck in there. I was putting blocks of wood in to chock the gear, and I was hitting it with a sledgehammer, which is definitely not the way it's supposed to be done. And I'd put bolts in the end, so you're hitting straight onto the shaft. And I've put so much force through. I've been bending bolts, and it's just not popping off. And then eventually the wood slipped, and now you can see it's mashed the gear. So I definitely need a new gear. And the shaft's been getting a pounding. So I bought a new shaft and gear. The gears are on back order from Land Rover, so I've had to go second hand. I'm not waiting around forever for a part to arrive. So now the plan is I'm gonna cut this shaft by ear, so I can then just slide the rest of the shaft out and take the gear out on its own. Because the reason I got to take it off is because it won't come out. It hits the casting on the block. So it's been a total pain. What I'm thinking has happened. The guy that worked on this before did say he had these balance shafts out. So I think he's gone batshit crazy with an impact gun when he's put the gears back on, and I just can't pop them off. They're a tapered fit. So you just it's that way. So basically you just bolt them down and they press together. And the manual says tighten the tool to 30 Newton meters, tap lightly with a mallet. Not on my engine. So I've wrapped the engine up best I can to try and stop getting fine dust all over everything. Got to use a rag because I've got no sellotape that's sticking to cover up the oil ports. Yeah, not got a lot of access there. So I'm going to cut it off with a reciprocating saw. So I'm just cleaning up the block now best I can before I start building it up. I've got so much metal swarf out of it, but I'll just keep going and going and going and going. So I want to do the best job I can, otherwise this engine could end up knackered again. So this is the replacement crankshaft I bought. I noticed it had a mark on it. You can see it there. So I wasn't happy about that mark. So I took it to South Wales Pistons, who did the honing on the block, to get their opinion on it. And they said it'll be fine, don't worry about it. So they polished up the crank for me. So I'm going to trust their judgment on that, and I'll just run it. So I fitted the crank in, it's all torqued up. So now I'm going to put the balance shafts in, and then hopefully I'm done with these balance shafts, because I hate the sight of them after having to cut one out. I also got the block cleaned at South Wales Pistons as well. I figured they'd probably do a better job of it than me. I got most of the metal out, but just wanted to sort of make sure. So it's time to build it back up now. So I've built the bottom end back up now. Got the oil pump on, pistons in, all sorted. So now I'm going to put the sump on to seal it up. So ready to go. So I got the bottom end all back together now. So time to put the cylinder head on. So this is the timing chain back together now. Just use that tool to tighten up these bolts on the camshafts. It's now ready to put the back cover on. So just quickly showing all the timing marks line up. You got that one there, that one there, and that one there. Fuel pump, and that lines up to the guide. There's no mark on the crank, although there is a mark on this side. So you can just see that little line where it says G4 D3, and then that corresponds to that arrow there. So we're all timed up. So I take this locking tool off, and then I'll turn it over by hand, make sure we're all good. So the engine's all back together now. It took ages. I didn't take enough photos of parts, so I had to like work out how it all went. Plus, like, all the loom around here, the previous guy didn't clip it in properly, so I had never seen that. So it's taken me a while. It's got a fiddly engine to work on, but it's all ready to go in now. So got the car as low as possible on that air jack, so I'll have enough height then to get it, swing the engine over. So not the easiest way of doing it, but it's gonna work. So everything's back together now. Some things aren't done properly. I've got to route some hoses and stuff still, but there should be nothing that's stopping this from starting up now. So I've had a look on my ODB scanner and it doesn't show oil pressure, which is a bit of a shame. I'm hoping that it's going to take ages cranking for the fuel system to prime, so I'll build oil pressure up as it's cranking. I wanted to monitor it, but it is what it is. So I'm ready to start it up. Quite nervous. Heard a couple of little splatters there, so give the starter motor a bit of time just to cool down. I think it's gonna go. Bit smoky. That vibrating is the engine mounts. That's the vacuum pipe that's not connected. It sounds pretty rough. Hopefully that'll sound a bit better when I start it up again. Right, so I think it's not too bad. I'm gonna get the engine mounts connected up because the whole thing's shaking about. See if that sorts it out, and I can get a feel for how it's running. Don't know if it's on all cylinders or not. It seemed alright when I revved it. See if we got any leaks. Well, looks alright. No disasters anyway. So far so good. I've connected up the engine mount, so I'll see if it runs any nicer now. So the vibration's gone, but it does sound rough. Nice, I got a full tank of fuel, I hadn't spotted that. Not sure what to make of that really. Sounds rougher than I'd hoped. I don't know what these sound like normally. Maybe it's normal, it'll settle down after a drive. Possibly the exhaust is blowing a bit, it seems really loud. But it seems to rev smoothly. There's no issue there. So it probably just needs warming up and it'll settle down, I hope. It's a bit late, so that's going to be it for tonight now. I don't want to piss off my neighbours any more than usual. So far so good, I guess. So the engine's all back together now. It'll be ready for a test drive. I just need to fit drive shafts and fill the front diff up with oil. I broke the old hub when I took it apart. This bit's snapped off, so I had to get another hub. So I bought one off eBay, bought it a few weeks ago, only just opened it up now, and have a listen to this. And it's playing it. Advertises good working order. Absolute state. So for comparison, this is the hub on mine. No play. So being sold even more crap. Hopefully I can just press the bearing out and swap it over, otherwise I'll have to buy one at Motor Factors tomorrow. But there's always something that's fighting me with this. A year ago this car failed the MOT on the CV boot. It was this one, and they used one of these universal ones, stretchy ones, and they're not very good. It had all the cracks in the rubber, so I decided whilst it's apart I'll replace it. You can't get them aftermarket, it's only the universal ones. So I went to Jaguar to get the pucker ones. Not very cheap, I think it was about 90 quid for the pair. So you got the inner and outer. Changing this outer CV boot is a right palaver. I can see why they used the cheap one last time. So to get that off, you've got to get this one off. To get that off, you needed to hammer the end piece off. That's how it is in the workshop manual. And there's a circlip that didn't have any like eyes in it there, so it's a nightmare to get it out. And now you need a puller to get the bearing races off, and then you can pull the boots off. Total pain in the arse. I reckon that would cost a lot of money in a garage to get this done. Right, so I'm about a month on from the last part of the video. So the test drive went fine. I booked an MOT then, got it straight down. It passed, no advisories, which I was pleased about. And then I took it out on its first big journey, and it started a tapping sound. And I thought, oh, you know, will it settle down or will it get worse? It was getting worse, and it basically, as I was putting my foot on the throttle on the motorway, you could hear like a knocking sound, and my arse fell out when that happened. So I pulled over and managed to find out it was just injector blow-by. One of the copper washers was leaking. So I was lucky that there was an AA van there, and I managed to borrow some tools. I tightened down the injectors. They'd all come slightly loose. So I'm pretty sure I torqued them up at the time, but I don't know, maybe they just needed a retorque. Anyway, that solved that. Now the engine is a bit louder than I'd like. I've never heard another one of these or been in another one, so I don't know how they are. It's doing my head in, to be honest. I'm not entirely comfortable. I think it sounds like a bag of crap, but it is a diesel and they do sound like crap. I've knocked out about, well, I say the wife has been using it. She's done about 700 miles in it. So we've just done the running in oil change, so now it's on the proper stuff. I was hoping the engine was going to get a bit quieter on the cracked oil, but I don't really think it has. It's not terrible. I don't think there's a problem with it. I think it's probably just how they are, but because I've done a lot of work on it, it gets me a little bit worried. So I'll fire it up. I haven't got the injector sound deadening, so that might not help the noise. So it doesn't sound terrible there, but it's quite loud inside the car, which is surprising. It's like there's some sound deadening missing from the car. I don't think there's a problem with it. I think I'll call the video there. I'm happy with it all now. It's running great. It sounds like a diesel, so to be expected, I guess. And I think it should be problem free for a while now. So it's been a success. It didn't always look like it was going to be a success, but rolled the dice and it looks like I've come out all right. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for similar stuff in the future. Bye.